Leo friends, expect the unexpected this week. A sudden shakeup in your friendships or your community instantly rewrites your long-term dreams, your goals, your ambitions, as well as where you feel you belong. It's a biggie. What happens now is utterly fated. Let's find out more about what is happening in your horoscope and for you this week. Friends, this video is a forecast for your sun, your moon, or your rising sign. You can check out all three videos, and they're going to tell you how the stars are going to affect your life this week. I'm Kesenya, and welcome to the Astro News and Weather Report for the third week of June 2026. Don't forget, everyone, this is tropical Vedic astrology, not sidereal astrology. Do look it up if you need to. And yes, I am a real person, not AI. So on the 20th of June, this is the key feature we're looking at in the week ahead, and it's a doozy. Uranus will exactly square the nodes at 3 degrees and 9 minutes. They've been tangling very close to one another in the preceding days up until this point, but they become exact on the 20th. So we are absolutely under this energy at this time. So pow, this energy is bold, big, and exceptional, and it only occurs roughly every 8 years. It's not common, it's not ordinary. So did you experience an important life shift back in 2018? It's likely to have been the result of this big, powerful event in the sky, Uranus squaring the nodes. And those themes that happened back then may be getting to make a repeat in your life in some way, shape, or form now. And it's all fated. Anything to do with the nodes becomes very fated indeed. So are you ready for a surprising and life-changing shift? Because here it comes. So nobody said this energy was easy. It is a square aspect to the south node and the north node, as you'll see in the little piece of chart footage that I've got here on the screen with me. Nobody said this was easy. The aspects are harsh, but it will get you unstuck. It may create some chaos, but possibly in the end, it's going to take you more to your destiny and put you in a more self-sufficient position in life. That's what Uranus wants to achieve, after all. So you will want to embrace your own truth. You won't stand for pretense or fakeness or falseness anymore, either yours or other people's. And you may even up and abandon everything that you thought you knew or thought that you wanted from life. This is an energy of sudden impacts, shocks, and life-changing redirectioning. Get ready for it all, my friends, and that's what this video is actually designed to do for you. Now, it may have global effects. We are, I believe, already seeing some of those effects at play in the geopolitical area. But on a collective level, this transit stirs restlessness within the masses and restlessness with the status quo. The way life is not satisfying anymore. We've had about a gutful of certain elements of the way life is unfolding. There's going to be a lot of differences of opinion around this time, particularly when it comes to Uranian things like technology, community dynamics, friendships, individuality, and our general direction as a society. These things could become especially divisive now. They could be potentially damaging. They might sever alliances and relationships of all kinds. We can also expect in a global level changes on societal and technological levels that will really alter the collective path of humanity. Going against the grain and societal disapproval, these are key themes. We're already seeing it. If you get your news from social media sources, it's out there. Mainstream media won't touch on any of this, but it's absolutely happening. Like, just take a look at what's going on in Ireland right now, if you want an example of this. You know, it is about going against the mainstream narrative and the mainstream norm. That's very Uranian, and it's fractious as it does so with a square to the nodes. But this is part of our collective, I'll get my words right, destiny. Cooperation doesn't come easily at times like this. And yet what we're seeing, for example, in Ireland does sort of herald the potential for a collective movement, for a revolution. And there are other themes at play at the moment besides just this Uranus square to the nodes. We have a trine to Pluto. We have a sextile from Uranus to Neptune as well. That is really holding space and helping this theme to perhaps have more positive momentum than it might otherwise do at other times. This was certainly not the case in 2018 when this dynamic last formed. But what about how it's going to affect you personally? In evolutionary astrology, Uranus represents our need to free ourselves from the conditioning that's been forced upon us by our culture, whatever culture that may happen to be for you. Culture's rules, culture's expectations. You might not even be aware that you have been conditioned, but believe me, everybody has to some extent, some people more than others. But those of us who hunger for awakening, who hunger for greater awareness, and who want to be deconditioned out of societal constructs are going to find that this transit is an absolute blessing despite the upheavals that it might bring. Those who still love mainstream media, those who believe that the government acts in their best interests, those who don't want to acknowledge the true root of darkness in society will find that this transit is tremendously challenging because Uranus is going to shake us all off the fence quite forcefully in some way. So it's a time that we're going to need to increase our awareness in order to choose wisely. The choices that the universe is requiring us to make may not be obvious at this time either, and it might be a case of having to take the path less trodden to get to a much better outcome. This transit can bring the biggest of life disruptions. Think sudden endings, sudden beginnings, changes in life direction, new ideas and breakthroughs that you would never have anticipated popping into your life in amazing ways. So here are a couple of questions that you might like to ponder on or journal about in the lead up to this energy becoming exact. Firstly, where were you 8 years ago, around November 2018? And what feels similar to you now about the circumstances you're in? Secondly, question yourself, are you clinging to the past, to old ways of doing things, to old beliefs out of a state of fear of the new, or are you bold enough to step into something that is completely unknown now? In what ways do you deny the truths that keep knocking at your door? Now, this might be the beliefs that you have despite all the evidence you're seeing to the contrary, or the relationships that you keep rehashing over and over and over when you know you should just let them go, or the choices you make that speak to compliance with society instead of the liberation that Uranus actually may want for you. If the universe was to radically shift something in your life right now, what would you want it to be? I'd suggest putting that out there to the universe and asking for the shift and the dynamic and the change to occur in that field of life, because the universe is ready to rock the boat and may just do it in your favor now. So now we're going to go through the influences for each sign. And remember, my friends, to check out your sun sign, your moon sign, and your rising sign, because all will be relevant to some degree or another in your life. Here we go, Leo. Uranus is in your 11th house and he's there for 7 years. But this week he is making an exact square to the south node and the north node. This is known as a skipped step and it's all affecting your 11th house, Leo. So your friendship groups, your community, your whole vision of what you want your future to look like, it's getting a reshuffling. You're being shaken out of the tree with those things this week. And it's going to come through some outer catalyst that you experience. So it could be a quiet catalyst. Maybe you just decide to suddenly drift away from people who don't feel like your people anymore. They used to, but they're not anymore. Or maybe a totally new but unexpected connection just drops into your world and you're like, these people actually get me. These are the real deal. These are my soul brothers and sisters here. Either way, there's a friendship change. There's a relational dynamic change with groups of people and big friendship circles out there. So ironic, that this is happening because I'm going to the solstice retreat that I spoke about a few videos back and connecting with a bunch of like-minded people who I adore. I can't wait. Bring it on. There's a subtle but very real pressure here, my beautiful Leo friends, in most social groups to fall into line. This is, and not just this week, this is all the time. Toe the line, wear the colors of the gang, be like everybody else, to adopt the shared opinions, to perform, things that make us feel like we belong, to trade one form of conditioning for another when we're in the group. And this is the transit that calls that shit out. True independence means being yourself, even when it makes your community uncomfortable. That's what needs to happen, Leo. If anyone can do it, Leo can. You might have to stand apart on your own from the whole crew in order to figure out who you actually are this week. And that might look literally like taking a stand against the opinions of the group, the opinions of the collective, the ideas of the mainstream. Now, there's other ways that this can manifest too, Leo. Something suddenly happens that is of an 11th house nature. So that could be maybe an unexpected financial windfall lands in your lap. Bring it on. Oh, please, universe. But it could also be an unexpected financial loss that occurs. There could be a dramatic change that involves an older sibling because this is the house of the older sibling. Or it could be a dramatic change with your mother because this is 8 houses from the 4th. So this influence of Uranus making a square aspect to the karmic nodes could bring in some karma with your mother that forces a crisis there. It could also look like an abrupt exit from a group or a club or a political circle that used to feel like home. The people that you're meant to be around in this next chapter, my beautiful Leo friends, they're very different to the ones that you have been previously hanging out with. And honestly, it's a good thing. I love my friends that I made when I was in the rockabilly group, the rockabilly subculture. But I went through a change, and it really happened in 2017, 2018, when this Uranus squared to the nodes for the last time. And I suddenly, had this sort of falling out due to mostly COVID issues in sort of 2019, but it had begun a little bit sooner than that, actually. 2019 and 20, the falling out really hit home. But a lot of things were dropping away prior to that in 2017 and 18 for me. And I value those friendships. I value them very, very greatly. But they're not the people I hang out with that much anymore. Very little, in fact. And I find that now my friends are more of the alternative community, the conspiracy theorists, the, deep thinkers, but alternative thinkers. And I love that community of people. They're deeply wise, and they're not just buying into what the political left happens to be saying or the political right happens to be saying at this time. I love that group of people. So that's just my example of how the change happened for me. It happened subtly over a period of years, but this week for you, Leo, it's going to feel, this change that happens is going to feel more like, a rude awakening in many senses of the word. And like I said, it's a good thing. As you can tell, my lovely Leos, this is a very big week of karma for everybody. And if you want to understand more about your own soul's journey with karma, then why not join me for the Karmic Astrology Masterclass? You'll get a free astrological goddess report based on your own personal birth chart when you join. And the feedback for this course, it's blown me away. I'm so delighted that people are loving it. I know this wisdom is going to transform your life too, Leo. So join the class through the link in the description below. I can't wait to see you there.